the Street Fighter V Fightstick Alpha, made by Madcatz. I bought this thing recently thinking I'd try it out. It was only 25 quid online, brand new. I just had to give it a go. The best arcade stick I own is the one for the Dreamcast, but I am a big fan of the ones for the Mega Drive as well. So I don't really own one on a modern console. Until now, of course. And this little beauty has the ability to play on both PS4 and PS3. But, for the purposes of this review, any gameplay or any games that I do will be only for the PS4. So here's the thing outside of the box at last. Here we obviously have the arcade stick itself. Nice loud clicking sound that may piss some people off, but not me. The only thing I don't like is that the ball on the stick itself twists. There doesn't appear to be a way to tighten it. I wish you could. For some people that may be the killing point. They may not want it because of that, but who knows. The main action buttons feel quite responsive. Nothing wrong there. R1 and R2. And up here we have L1 and L2. Start and options, select and share, the PS button of course, and the PS3 to PS4 switch. The rest doesn't really matter. All you need to know is that it feels quite good. You've got to remember this is a £25 arcade stick. So because it's £25, you can't really expect the highest of qualities. But what you have here is worth the money, I reckon. Now you can look everywhere and you will find tons of reviews online for what it's like with, of course, Street Fighter V and various other fighting games. But I wanted to see what it was like with other games, mainly shooters, because arcade sticks are not just for fighting games, they are also for shooters. So let's see what it's like with those games. The first game I tried the stick on was Ikaruga, originally a Sega Saturn game, so of course that's why I own it, but here is the PS4 version. All of the buttons here seem to be quite responsive. I have no problems with them. Except for the spinning ball on the arcade stick. Personally, I wish it didn't spin. I wish there was a way to tighten it. This might not affect a lot of people, but it does seem to affect me for some bloody reason. Either way, this shooting game seems to work really well with the fight stick. Highly recommend it. Next up, I thought I'd try it on a spin-off at least of an arcade classic. Pac-Man 256, or Pac-Man 256, however you want to call it. On this game you don't really get to try out any of the action buttons, it's pretty much solely down to the stick itself. It felt quite responsive. There were a couple of times when I felt like I had slipped in a direction I wasn't intentionally trying to go to, but nothing major. Every time I died during the game I couldn't honestly blame the controller for it because I got a bit further each time I played, which clearly shows it's just me getting better at the game through practice. All in all, the fight stick worked quite well here, and it is a good game, so if you want to try the game out, I recommend this one as well. Next up, I wanted to try something a little different. I wanted to try a platformer. Wonder Boy, The Dragon's Trap. There is one slight problem here, however. In this game, you have the ability to change the graphics down and the music to its old Master System version. A great little feature, and I love it to bits. Slight problem though. In this game, in order to change the music, you have to push in R3, which is of course the right analog stick. There is nothing translated to the right analog stick here on the fight stick. Then again, this isn't really a fault of this particular arcade stick, this is something that loads of arcade sticks have. They don't intend to map out every single button because they're not made for every type of game. But missing buttons aside, this game was actually quite fun to play with the arcade stick. I was relatively surprised. I thought it'd be a bitch. But no, it was quite fun. It took a little bit of getting used to. There were a few times when I felt like I wanted to attack an enemy, but I ballsed up and jumped, but that's just me getting used to the button configuration. And there were a few times when I just found myself slipping around the place. Again, more to do with me being used to a D-pad than an arcade stick. But once again, the fight stick works and there are no problems. Everything seems to go smoothly, and with a bit of practice, I reckon this could be even more fun to use than a normal controller. Now, to mix up things even more, I tried it on a 2D RPG. Pier Solar and the Great Architects. A fantastic 2D RPG for the Sega Mega Drive, the Dreamcast, and the PS3 and PS4. Now, I have to admit, I was very hopeful that this would work well with the controller. I wasn't sure that it would though, but everything seems to work fine. When you're travelling around on the game's overworld, travelling seems fine. It doesn't seem like you're missing any buttons in the layout as we did with Wonder Boy. The battles in the game work perfectly. I have played RPGs with arcade sticks before. I mean, I've played so many of the Phantasy Star games on the Mega Drive with the Mega Drive arcade stick. And it's the same principle here. Everything seems to work quite well. Obviously, the arcade stick would not work very well with a 3D RPG, seeing as most of the time you need to have 2 analog sticks. And that's not gonna work here. But if you can think of another 2D RPG, chances are it will work well. And finally, we play Sonic Mania. This is probably one of the most popular modern retro games out there at the moment, so of course it's one that people would most want to try new things with. And if you consider yourself to be a master at Sonic Mania, then I have good news for you. The Madcatz fighting stick works perfectly with this game. If you want to know about any bad points of using a controller on this, the only thing that seemed to bother me even slightly was when you're going at high speed and you want to quickly turn into the spin dash roll. Sometimes it felt slightly delayed, but that might just be me. It seems to work quite well. There's never a time when things just don't happen. Everything else felt quite responsive, the jumps, the movements, everything. I thoroughly enjoyed playing the game this way, and it just felt so much more challenging. Not challenging in a bad way, but challenging in a way that makes you feel like you're more in control of what's happening rather than just lazily pushing a button. And if you think it made the game too difficult, well, I actually managed to get the first Chaos Emerald with the arcade stick, to prove that it is possible. A fantastic game with an all-new fantastic challenge. I honestly want to see if anyone out there will do a Let's Play this way. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Game Poke. If you liked the video, please click like or leave a comment. It's all good. And if you want to help out the channel, please click subscribe. It really does help. Thank you very much again. I'll see you next time.